years ago, my oldest grandson was 15 years old and he wanted to learn to drive. And so I told him that I would do my best to teach him to drive. I had taught his mother to drive, his uncle to drive, and so I felt like maybe I still had a little bit left in me that I could teach him how to drive. So he was in my truck and we were going down a road, and I knew that up ahead there was a series of potholes in the road. And so I told him, I said, Wyatt, up ahead there's some serious potholes. And he said, okay. We got to them and boom, 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 we hit every one of them. And I looked over at him and I said, Wyatt, you just taught me a lesson in communication. I said, what I meant to say was, don't hit the potholes. But instead, apparently, you interpreted that as, see if you're good enough to hit all of the potholes. We still laugh about that from time to time today. Well, my name is Richard Coleman, and I'm the pastor at Shepherd Church of the Nazarene in Lexington, South Carolina, and it's great to spend just a few moments with you today. Been looking in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, one of my favorite stories is about Joseph. You may know him as Joseph in the coat of many colors, and his brothers got mad at him and made his dad think that he was dead. They actually sold him to slave traders, and they sold him to the captain of the guard in Egypt. Well, he is now working in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar is happy with Joseph. Joseph has a good attitude, has a good work ethic, and he's doing everything he's supposed to do. Well, the Bible tells us that Joseph is well built and handsome. Well, over a period of time, as Potiphar is off doing his duties, Joseph is there and Potiphar's wife is there. Well, Potiphar's wife keeps making advances towards Joseph. She just comes right up to him and she says, we ought to go to bed together. And Joseph said, that is a bad idea. He said, your husband has put me in charge of everything. I can do anything in this house that I want to do except touch you. And he said, I'm not going there. I'm not going to disappoint God or my master. Well, finally she gets to the place where she's tired of being rejected, and she grabs hold of Joseph one day, and the only way to get away from her is he slips out of his coat and runs outside. And whenever her husband gets home, she says, you see this coat that I have? She said, I pulled it off of Joseph when he was attacking me. He was trying to take advantage of me. And Potiphar got so upset that he had Joseph thrown into prison. Well, I'm just going to tell you, going from a slave position to now he's in prison, it looks like his life is just going downhill. And even though he has a good attitude and he's working hard and he's doing the things that he ought to do, it seems like things are just not improving for him. And again, I would just question, why in the world would this be happening to me? But you know, it seems like Joseph is able to rebound from every predicament that he finds himself in. The Bible tells us that God helped him and blessed him even when he was in prison. Matter of fact, the warden of the prison gave Joseph responsibility so that he could have extra privileges and also extra hard work that he needed to do. God was able to use Joseph where he was to be able to deal with people that were there in the prison. God was able to even elevate Joseph's life later to a very high position due to the rough times that Joseph had to go through. I think sometimes whenever we see those potholes in the road, we have all these negative thoughts, and especially if we hit them and knock the front end out of line, It's easy to have negative thoughts about the potholes. But you know, if you were learning to drive and what you were trying to do is trying to maneuver around the potholes so that maybe you wouldn't have the impact of all of those potholes, it could actually give you the opportunity to become a better driver. You could use the potholes on the road to increase your driving skill and also your ability. I'll look at the things that happened in Joseph's life. And he could have taken those and he could have just said, well, there's no reason for me to try to be a witness for God. There's no reason for me to try to stand up for what I know is right. He could have gone in that direction, but instead he took where he was and he moved forward with it in a positive way. So I think it's important for us to realize life is not fair. God never promised that life would be fair for a Christian. And so it's important to be able to find where God has placed us, or maybe where we have placed ourselves, but allow God to be able to use us from where we are. And if we have the right attitude, and if we turn our hearts and our lives over to God and place our lives in His hands, He can elevate us from where we are and maybe allow us to learn a thing or two through some of those potholes and some of those rough times. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you. May you truly watch out for the potholes that may appear in your life this week. Thanks for taking the time and viewing today.